Awesome. So thank you very much for being here. As we said, we are on session 3, financial wellbeing with chronic illness in mind. We've been thrilled to collaborate with the British Veterinary Chronic Illness Support charity on this one because we know it is such a needed topic. We see time and time again questions that are coming up in the forums asking about things like income protection with chronic health, asking about what can I do if I can't get income protection, finding finances maybe a little bit overwhelming, which is totally understandable when we're not often taught how to deal with them ourselves. So we've been thrilled to have Ruth Downes, a financial advisor, come along and collaborate with us and BVCIS to make these sessions accessible. They're all recorded if you prefer to watch the recordings of them as well. So I'm going to start with handing over to Liv from BVCIS just to tell us a little bit more about the charity and about the fantastic work that they do before we dive into a bit more on VetU.
Thanks so much, Katie. So I'm Liv, I'm the Vice Chair of BVCIS, which is the British Veterinary Chronic Illness Support charity. We're a charity that's formed to support people with chronic illnesses, disabilities and neurodiversity in the veterinary sector. It was an area that we felt there was a really big gap in anybody sort of looking at and campaigning on and improving life for our community. So we decided to fill that gap. We're really, really proud to be what we call for Spoonies by Spoonies. So everyone who's involved with the organisation either is someone who feels very passionately about it or has lived experience of having a chronic illness, neurodiversity or disability. So we've all been a lot of the places or a lot of the experiences, we've had them and we're really keen to support. But everybody's experience with chronic illness, disability or neurodiversity is different. So at the same time as we're saying, we've had some of those experiences, we're so open and welcoming that everybody will have a different experience of their own condition. So we have a Facebook group called the British Veterinary we have a Facebook group called Veterinary Spoonholders UK, which is where the charity actually grew out from. There's about 1,900 people on there at the moment, so please come join us if you're not on the group already, although I know a lot of you will have heard about the event from there. And the charity exists for 3 reasons. One, to advocate for people with chronic illnesses, disabilities and neurodivergency within the veterinary profession. So we're talking to all sorts of other organisations to try and get them thinking about our community a bit more, to support us as well. So this is what sessions like this are for, to try and give you guys the tools that you need to live the best possible life, even though we might have some impairments and limitations, to just get things really efficient and minimise the impact of those impairments, and then to advocate for support and educate about. So that might be educating again with this kind of format, educating our own community, but also educating the wider profession about the issues that we face. So I'm really, really pleased to be partnering with VetU on this event, this series of events. This has been really, really helpful to me personally, and I hope it's been helpful to you as well.
Thank you so much, Liv. That is fantastic. And we just really appreciate all the fantastic work that you're doing at BVCIS. And we know that certainly finances and the questions that come up in the groups have meant that this topic has been quite well timed. And again, the recordings are going to be out there for people to keep accessing, because I know it's probably not going to be the first time that people ask these questions as well. So thank you so much, Liv. And just before we head into a bit of a recap on the last few sessions, whilst I introduce our fantastic guest speaker, Ruth Downes, a financial advisor, I'm going to hand over to Matt Dobbs, who was one of the original founders of VetU, to tell us a little bit more about VetU, what we do, what we're about as well, and then we'll head into tonight's content. Matt?
Great, thanks, Katie. Well, as Olivia said, we all have very different journeys in our lives, and that certainly is true of our professional career. But one thing that can be sure is when we talk about our personal and professional development, it's really important that we get our finances in sound order, because only if we can feel comfortable talking about money, understanding money and managing our own money, can we then start to make some of the big decisions in life, which really help us, give us the confidence to push on both personally and professionally. So VetU was founded simply to be able to provide a network and a support mechanism for members of the veterinary profession and those allied industries to help them feel comfortable and confident around matters around personal finance. We primarily help and encourage people to consider 3 key areas. 1, consider your health and how you can protect your health using finance. 2, thinking about your income. Most of us, all of us probably on this call, need an income of some sort. And we want to know what should we or what could we do if we weren't able to earn money. So our income and protecting our income is important. And then finally, our future, whether it's our future for ourselves, our retirement, our family, or maybe we're planning a big event in the future. All of those require some careful financial management. So we're here to help really get people to think and encourage them to step out the normal British uncomfortable zone, which is talking about money, and start to address this head on. I was very fortunate in my younger years to have had some quite sound financial advice, and it really helped me underpin my career when I made decisions about where I wanted to go. And I'd love to help other people, and as part of VetU, it's great that we've got Katie here tonight, Ebony and Paul, who are all passionate about bringing that level of advice and interest with our very trusted advisors to the profession. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you so much, Matt. And when we were planning these sessions, we spent quite a lot of time meeting with Claire Hodgson, who is again part of BVCIS, and putting surveys out to the community and really starting to get a gauge of an overall view of what some of those financial barriers were, conditions that maybe they'd experienced. And that meant that Ruth, who's one of the fantastic financial advisors that we work alongside, could go back to a lot of these companies, could find out around the background of some of these illnesses as well, which we found very much in the first session. So like we said, this is number 3 of 3. I've popped the first 2, the recording links, in the chat. You will be able to access those. Those will go out with the recording as well. If you haven't already caught up on those ones, I would say it's well worthwhile afterwards, just so that you've seen all of it, because you find in the first session, we were so pleased to hear that people like Ruth and her team really are keen to advocate for people within the profession and beyond that maybe have had a chronic health condition, or they've had something in their medical history that perhaps previously they've felt has stopped them getting protection policies. Now, obviously, there might be circumstances where those policies weren't possible. We touched on some of those options, and I know Ruth is going to talk a little bit more around that as we go. Then she highlighted a lot about why it's so important for us to get that clarity and how that might not be as bad as it first feels like it might be. And we walked through the financial questionnaire that really helped lie that down in front of us, what's coming in, what's going out. And again, acknowledging that we're all different. Some people are going to find that easier if they use a spreadsheet. Some people prefer pen and paper, and we did that in the last session as well as answer some of your questions. So now we should be at a point where we've got a little bit more clarity around what comes in, what goes out, where our expenditure is, what are our fixed costs, what are our discretionary costs, which I know Ruth is going to talk a little bit more around as well. So we've really come through a process in these sessions, just helping break down those barriers, make it feel more accessible, make it feel more doable, hopefully, and also have plenty of opportunities for your questions to be answered too. And once again, as we've all said, we've all got different backgrounds, different experiences. But at the same time, if you do have a question that you'd like to ask, there is no such thing as a stupid question. If you're wondering it, somebody else on the call is probably thinking the same, or somebody watching the recording is wondering the same as well. So please do send it in the chat box if you've got anything specific that you'd like to ask, even if it's not something that we cover in this session itself, because today I know Ruth is going to be focusing a bit more around savings and investments and a bit more around debt management too. So we've got a lot to cover, but at the same time, if there is anything from topics we've already covered, get your questions in, because we're really pleased that Ruth is gifting her time this evening and her expertise to actually help the profession out. So as we've said, we're really thrilled to be joined by Ruth Downes, who is a financial advisor that we really love working alongside because she's so passionate, she's so knowledgeable, she's so professional as well. She really does look after members of the profession fantastically. You can see a review that we've got up on here, a testimonial from one of the community, just showing how down to earth, how approachable, how knowledgeable, but at the same time, how she makes these topics understandable. So Ruth, I'm going to hand over to you to tell us a little bit more around what we're covering in this session, and also a little bit more around your why, in case people haven't heard that story previously.
Wonderful. Yeah, I just want to double check. Is the presentation up on screen? I can't see it. Yay! Brilliant. Okay, I thought that was me then. I thought I've got some technical difficulty, something's going on. So yeah, thank you so much for that, Katie. Appreciate it, and thank you for the wonderful welcome. So yeah, welcome everybody again. This is now the third and final session, and what a session it is going to be. There's a lot we're going to go through tonight. Now, I'm going to have to keep it very top level. So please forgive me if a lot of this some people might already know, but I want to cover the basics before we move on and go any further. So I'll be dropping some awesome knowledge bombs on you guys, and I hope you're all set and kind of ready to go. So if we can go to the next slide, please, Katie. I just wanted to let you know my why for anyone that doesn't know. I absolutely love what I'm being able to do day in, day out. My mum, she fell ill. I had to go look after her and was told to look into her finances because they didn't think she was going to survive. And I had no clue what I was looking at the time, and I could not get help. I was made to feel stupid when I did reach out to financial advisors for help. They didn't want to talk to me because I had nothing to invest. And yeah, I was going through one of the most difficult times in my life. So I swore that anyone that knew me, I'm going to come back and retrain, and anyone that knew me would never have to go through something like that again. They would always have an avenue to ask questions in a safe environment. So when we say there's no such thing as a stupid question, that honestly really isn't. So look, I'm here and I'm here to help. Next slide, please, Katie. So who do I work with? I think it's important just to have a quick chat about this. I choose to partner with a company called St. James's Place. They're a FTSE 100 company, and that has actually gone up to, I think, near 100 and I think it's 60 billion of client funds under management. Now, what does that mean to you? It just means that people trust us to look after their financial futures. You know, it could be families, can it be individuals, companies, everybody we look after and help make their pennies go further. So next slide, please. So what did we cover in the last session that we had a look at? We went through the budgeting spreadsheet. So I hope you all now know where your money goes. There is no right or wrong answer to what you put down on that spreadsheet or how much you spent and where it went. It's just about knowing where it goes and being mindful of that. So for those that have done it, well done. Really, really pleased for you. And I hope it has helped. You'll know that it doesn't take long to fill in, and will now help you answer such questions as we're going to go on to now of how much should I or can I invest? And how much can I put towards, say, a protection policy? And what you should be aware of, as in, do you spend too much on coffee per week, like me? So yeah, it's like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just to emphasize there is such an importance of filling in this questionnaire. It can also help you to budget for how much you want in, say, a new job or a career move you're planning, to make sure that all your bills are covered. So please keep it updated, especially with the steep rise in household bills that is going to be coming, or if it hasn't hit you already, that is going to be of like 54%. You know, this is £693 per year increase for the average customer. So please just make sure that you've got this spreadsheet. You can understand if it's going to be affordable or where you're able to make cuts if you have to. So next slide, please, Katie.
Just to let you know as well, I've just popped in the chat the link for everyone to find that questionnaire as well, if they haven't filled it out already. Yep. And you'll find on the replays where we talk through that in a lot more detail.
Yeah, and like just to how you fill it in, it goes through absolutely everything. So we've got you covered. So here are some of the questions that we get asked, and I'm sure some of these will be on your list too. I have included some time at the end to go through any specific questions that you may have, but please put in the chat if there's anything you want answered specifically, and we can answer them right at the end. So I'll be also answering these questions that are on the screen currently as we're going through, so don't worry. So next slide, please. should be where we all start off, that all-important emergency fund. Now, we did cover this in session 1. It is super important, so I'm going to cover it again. Before we put any policy in place, whether it be a protection or an investment of some sort, something I'll ask is, do you have a rainy day comfort fund or emergency fund? We all need it in case something happens, and easily accessible in an account, such as like just your normal current bank account. So, I mean, just some of these photos here. Do you remember those really bad storms that we had that came up? It's just about making sure that you are covered in case the unforeseen happens, and that you have that spare amount available, that you're able to get your car redone. Might be a little bit of a fixer-upper, that bottom left one, or God forbid something should happen to your house. So promise me, if you set this up, you'll be thanking me later should anything happen. And you've got, usually it depends on your circumstances, but if your bills per month in what you have as your expenditure, so as your essential and your discretionary kind of expenditure, once you've gone through your sheet, your questionnaire, your financial questionnaire, we base it on around 3 times that, to make sure you have it easily available. But it also helps with protection, because should you set up a policy, you can defer it for a certain amount of months, so that it'll make the premiums, so the amount that you pay per month, slightly cheaper, because you'll have something to kind of use and fall back on should you need it. So super important. Summarized, emergency fund, very important. So next most important thing to look at, thank you Katie, is protection. So once again, we covered this in quite a lot of detail in session 1, so I don't want to spend too much time here, but to briefly touch on it, I am here to fight your corner. So you're not alone when you're looking at protection. I know you might find it a little bit difficult and there's a lot to go through, and am I going to be able to get covered? Let me look into that for you. Let my team have a look and be on the phone to providers to find out if we can get you covered with your specific needs. So I am here to help you. So underpinning absolutely everything I do as a financial advisor is protection. Like I've said, you guys don't have it easy with the jobs that you do. I really understand what happens in your industry, but it's vitally important to make sure you have your income protected should anything kind of happen to you. And this is through something called income protection. So please watch back the first session we did to kind of recap on all of this. Policies tend to pay out, once again, about up to 60% of your total income, because like I've said before, let's face it, if they paid 100%, then there'd be no incentive for anybody to go back to work. So the reason why I'm also mentioning it is that today we're going to be talking about investments and or savings plans that you can put in place, and we need to make sure that you will have say your protection policy can pay out, so that you'd be able to continue with anything that you put in place, any goals, whether it be an investment, protection, anything like that. So let me fight your corner with anything to do with protection. I'll help you with the product providers, as I know you've got a limited amount of spoons that you can use in a day. And if you can't get cover, then tell you what, let's use what savings you have to invest and to help it to go further, rather than sat in a bank account potentially earning next to nothing. If plan A doesn't work, then there are 25 other letters in the alphabet, and trust me, I can come up with a different one for each and every one of those. So we will help you. Next slide, please. Let's go on to what we're here to talk about: savings and investments. So why do people save? There's some reasons that you've got on screen. You can see unforeseen circumstances, those rainy day funds, could be for your future. Are you wanting to look at a family eventually? Retirement, could be for a dream holiday. In case you run into financial difficulties through losing your job, or, in most people's cases who might be on the call today, potentially, becoming too ill to be able to work and having something to fall back on. Or it might just be to get interest on your money. And it's okay if you just don't know. You know, we can work together to create your plan and your specific reason as to why. There's lots of reasons why people say, but whatever it is, that is what my advice to you is going to all be about. It's about getting to know you and putting something in place, a plan to help you achieve that goal. Next slide, please. So here are some of the questions that I'm going to put to you. So I'm going to throw it back to you and I'm going to go, have you thought about some of these? Take a moment to just have a think. Let's take the first question, for example. Why do you specifically potentially want to save or set up a plan? It might sound like a really simple question, but have a think, you know, is it going to make a big difference to what savings or investments, you know, it could do to what vehicle I'm going to recommend it goes into? You can save monthly. You can do a one-off kind of lump sum payment if you want. Do you need access to that money in the kind of near future? It's all about looking at kind of that time frame. Are you prepared to leave it for a while? And if so, for how long? And will this money that you're going to invest, will it kind of affect your day-to-day standard of living? These are really important questions to just have a think of that you might not have before. You don't have to save like just everything for one pot into one thing. You can have a number of different pots and different goals. Literally, the world's your oyster. So this will help you answer, where can I put my money? What are my kind of options and what does it all mean? And how do I decide what to do? So that's what just spending a little bit of time here can help you answer. So next question. Next slide, no question. Savings. These are different types of savings accounts that are out there. So let's kind of rewind back a little bit. What is a savings account? It's just simply an account for you to put money in and earn interest. Like I said, I want to keep it very top level tonight just to make sure we've got everything covered. So what are kind of interest rates that I've just mentioned? Interest is what you pay for borrowing money and what banks pay you for saving money with them. So interest rates are usually shown as a percentage of the amount that you borrow or save over a year. So if you put, let's say, like £100 into a savings account with a 1% interest rate, you'd have £101 a year later. So savings interest is paid tax-free and it kind of won't pay, or in most people's cases, well, you won't pay any tax at all on it. Basic rate taxpayers, so if you earn up to a certain amount, you get £1,000 a year tax-free. And higher rate taxpayers, so if you're earning over, say, 50,000, I think it's around about £150, then you get £500 tax-free. So it's only with really large amounts of savings that you really need to worry about if you'll pay any tax, and that's less than 5% of us. So we should be good. So what are your other options? I had a quick look at different kind of interest rates that are out there at the moment, just to give you an idea. There's usually no charge for kind of setting up a savings account. You've got what is known as an easy access savings. So what does it do? It does exactly what it says on the tin. It gives you easy access to your money. And it offers an interest rate at round about 0.75%. That's actually quite high for something like that. I think that's the highest one I found. Notice savings account, as it says, you put money in and you have to give them notice to be able to access it. So that's like 1.08% for 120 days or 0.8% for, say, like 32 days, so slightly less. As you can see, it's not earning an awful lot. Fixed rate accounts, once again, these will pay you, as it says, kind of a fixed rate to put your money with them. So for instance, 1.45% for 1 year, 1% for 2 years, or 1.87% for 3 years. Maybe just find out what your kind of bank account interest rate is giving you. Most that I've spoken to recently, gosh, it's either 0% or 0.1%. It's not brilliant, but it can really pay to shop around and find decent savings rates. I had a client ask me yesterday, would they be allowed to move banks to get a better rate if their direct debits were set up? And absolutely, 100% you can. And sometimes, they can actually pay you for switching. I know recently I saw something come up for NatWest that had an offer. I think it was something like £150 just to move an account across to them if you had it. So it kind of pays just to have a look at what's out there. And then at the bottom, you'll see there's regular savings accounts. So what are they? Clues in the name. Most regular saving accounts require you to put money away each month with interest paid yearly, unless it's kind of otherwise stated. But they offer higher interest rates than traditional kind of fixed or easy access savings accounts. But sometimes they can have quite strict terms and conditions. So it's good just to keep an eye out for those. Next slide, please, Katie. So individual savings accounts. I'm sure most of you have heard of those, but sometimes you'll think, I've got an ISA, or what kind of ISA? Also known individual savings accounts, ISA for short. There's lots of different ISAs accounts you can have, as you'll see on screen. So they are fantastic investments. They're a great tool that we can use to make the most of your savings and investments, because you can put money away into them. There's no income tax. There's no capital gains tax that is usually taken off the returns. And they can provide you with a tax-free income, if you want to use it in later life, for instance, if that's what you want to do. Every adult, so you have an allowance of £20,000 each year, and there's a limit due to the tax advantages obviously associated with them. And that £20,000 limit will reset for you to start saving again if you've maxed out your limit on the 6th of April each year. So it kind of resets again. And children, if you have any children, you're able to set them up for them as well. And they also have an allowance of £9,000 a year that you can put into for them. You can have easy access cash ISAs. They offer usually around about, I think latest I saw was 0.6% rate. And easy access cash ISAs let you take out your money when you want without penalty. So are a good option if you'll be kind of dipping into your savings, or if you're just not sure if you need it. But like I've said, there's quite low interest rates on those. Don't think just because it says on the savings account it's an ISA that you're going to be getting a good rate of savings. You've got to check what kind of ISA it is. Fixed rate cash ISAs, you can have those. I saw one for 1.46%. I think it was for 3 years. So, they're designed to lock away your money for a set period and offer a rate of security in return. And have anyone heard of lifetime ISAs? Have you heard of those, also known as a LISA? I bet you're thinking that is a long time to kind of have an ISA, a lifetime ISA. Well, let me explain. A lifetime ISA, also known as a LISA, can be opened by anyone aged 18 to 39. So you can save up to £4,000 a year in it, and it can be towards your first home or retirement. And the state adds a 25% cash bonus on top, up to kind of £1,000 a year. So a lot of the people that are bringing this up, because a lot of the people that I chat to are looking to save for their first property. But just to caveat it by saying, you need to have had a LISA open for a year to get that first time buyer bonus. And even if you're not sure you're going to use it for your first property, it's kind of just worth opening for, say, £1, just so you set that clock running to have it open for a year. Plus, you earn interest on whatever you save. And as it's an ISA, individual savings account, that interest is tax-free. But remember, I said you've got a limit of £20,000 a year. Well, that £4,000 maximum that you can save into a LISA, a lifetime ISA, that forms part of that 20,000. So if you think about it, 4,000 into a lifetime ISA, and then 16,000 you can put towards another ISA allowance. I'm just going to have a quick mention to Help to Buy ISAs. I'm not sure if any of you have already set any of those up. You might have heard of them. They closed the accounts to open a new one as of the 30th of November 2019. So if you've already opened a Help to Buy ISA, it does the same thing as a LISA, it's different amounts, but you can keep saving into it until I think November 2029. And then you can, it's also another form of saving for your first property. Big breath. Stocks and shares ISAs. The name gives it away. So it's an ISA that is invested in a spread of stocks and shares based on your kind of attitude to risk. And so the percentage per year you can get back, depending, of course, on the amount of risk you want to take, is more. So think of it like this. On the whole, usually the more risk you take, the potential is for more return. So the lower risk, like current accounts, have you seen with like your low percentage rates of interest, low return. Caveat, past performance is no guarantee of future performance with any kind of investments, but you tend to see a much higher return, percentage return with taking more risk. But there is usually a cost for setting up an ISA, but you only get charged when you set it up, not on withdrawals of that. And there's lots of places where you can get them. Some you can manage yourself and they will have cheaper fees as you pick your own attitude to risk for your investment, or the ones that you can have, like with me, that I can help you set up, where I help manage it for you. And we work out together what your attitude to risk is going to be and how much risk you want to take with that investment. And this will have a higher initial charge because obviously I'm going to be managing that for you. But the power of having a BFF, your best financial friend, is to make sure that you have the right investment for your needs. So don't forget, you've got your complimentary 30-minute, 15-30-minute chat with me that you're able to book in for, and I can help you with your specific circumstances. Next slide, please. Wonderful, Katie.
I was just quickly going to ask Ruth, we've just had a question in the chat that ties in really nicely on that slide that you've just been on. And I know you've touched on a little bit of this already. If there's anything you wanted to add to, given that savings are now paid gross / tax-free, what's the benefit of a cash ISA these days?
Cash ISA specifically is that you have easy access to it. In my opinion, there's not much difference between a current account and having a cash ISA. It upsets me because I deal with a lot of people that have, say, like quite a lot of money in cash ISAs thinking that they're earning something. But when I ask them to look into it, you end up finding out it's 0.01% or 0.2%. So the main benefit of having a cash specific ISA is that you can easily access it just like a current account.
That makes total sense. Thank you, Ruth.
Did that answer it?
Let us know in the chat if that covered everything, or if you'd like us to add anything additional there, we can ask Ruth as we move forward. I just thought it tied in nicely. So Ruth, back over to you.
Yeah, and thank you for the question. Yeah, definitely. Inflation, I'm going to include this because I talk about it a lot with my clients because they tend to forget the impact of inflation. You think, okay, well, 0.1%, I'm earning 0.1%, sorry, more than anywhere else. Let's rewind. What is inflation? I'm sure that a lot of you will have heard of the term. It's simply the rate in which prices are rising. So what a basket of goods like bread and milk cost last year to what it costs this year. So if the price of a bottle of milk is £1 and it rises by 5p, then milk inflation is 5%. I don't know about you, but recently, like I've said, I go do my shopping just down at local Lidl, and I can see a massive difference recently in how much the price of kind of my usual kind of shop that I get. I'm very boring with my food. I tend to get the same every week, but how much it's gone up I'm not sure if a lot of you have kind of seen the same, but in the past 12 months, up until I think it was last March, I had a look, prices rose by inflation. So from a year to 6.1% on average. That's what inflation was. It's so important that any money that you have spare is put into some form of savings vehicle. Because as you can see from the graph, over a 20-year period, as you'll see, in 2000, if you would have had £2,000, that's £10,000, sorry, as you'll see, 20 years later, even though you'll still have £10,000 in the bank, the purchasing power of that money will only be worth £6,554. So you'll only be able to buy, with that £10,000, £6,554 worth of kind of goods. And that's a real kind of important thing to know of why inflation, you have to keep note of, you know, what's going on in your bank account, where your money is, to make sure it goes further. I mean, one of my clients nearly fell off my chair. She told me she had £30,000 in a mattress, just saved in a mattress over like it was quite a few years. I can't remember exactly. I think it was about 20-25 years. But yeah, I was like, you've got to put that somewhere. And, you know, she did. And I sorted her out, and I get thank yous every kind of like every 6 months or so when she finds out how much interest she's had on it. So next slide, please. Okay, retirement. It'd be prudent for me to kind of not talk about this. So let's throw this one into the mix. These are some of the questions that we get asked, and this is like what we call like the pension ladder. A pension is just simply a long-term savings plan to help you save money for later life. And they're also like really great investment tools, but if you put money into them, you tend to not be able to access it till 58 because it is saving for retirement. And there are some amazing, like they always laugh when I say this, but pensions are really my jam. I absolutely love them, love talking about them, the tax benefits of them, and starting to save early, because I want everyone to really start to encourage to save for it if you can. So how do they work? You put income regularly into them during your working life, and this will give you an income in later life when you want to work less or just kick back and retire. That's the meaning of a pension. It's just simply security for when you're older. So the 100-year life is something that a lot of us need to start thinking about and preparing for. Technology is advancing, people are living longer. So on here, you can expect to live up to 90, what is it? If you were born, let's just say 1987, so midway up the ladder, you can expect to live till 97 years old. And then if you were born around 2007, 103. And this goes up every single year because of technological advances. So if you gave up work to retire at 65, would you have kind of made sufficient plans to provide income for another 35 years? I'm just going to leave that one there for you to kind of have a think about. So next slide, please. How does it work with taxes? When I talk about the tax advantages of a pension, it's the tax relief. And this is just one of the best features of them. When you pay into your pension, some of that money that would have gone to the government as tax goes towards your pension instead. So this can really help reduce the amount of tax you pay and give your savings a boost for the future. So the tax release is given based on the rate of income tax that, like we've said, that you pay. So if you're a basic rate taxpayer, so you earn under like 50,000, let's just round it down, £50,000. If you want £100 saved into your pension, you'll only need to put in £80. And this is because the tax man then adds it by £20. He gives you that kind of tax relief back. Higher rate taxpayers would only need to pay in £60 to get 100, and top rate taxpayers 55 to get that. Next slide, please, Katie. Compound interest. wonderful Daisy and Ken. Every pension talk, I always bring this up because it is just such a great visual to explain the importance. Daisy started early, saving into a pension at 25 years old. She saved £96,000 when she got to 65. Ken was like, you know what, I'm going to start saving a bit later. He started at 45 and he put double the amount in. So he paid £400 in a month, and he still saved £96,000. But because of compound interest and the amount that you can kind of save, Daisy's pension pot grew by an extra over £210,000 because the interest was added back in every day, and it grew and it grew and it grew. Ken's didn't have as much time to do that. So because of that, he's only grew by an extra £69,000. Now, this is based on a conservative 5% growth rate, as you'll see at the top. So yeah, it's really good, plant the tree, for 20 years, as like Katie's just said. It's really important to think about it now and just let it grow. Next slide, please. So why investing makes sense? I'm just going to briefly touch on this because something that I get asked a lot is, oh my gosh, am I going to lose all my money if I invest and I put into an investment of some sort? You'll see on this slide, just look at it broadly. Don't look at the big into the detail. The lightly shaded blue area, that's kind of stocks and shares. So that's like equities. It starts on the far left in 1987 and it moves to the far right in 2020. So the main thing to know is when you invest, you've got to take that long-term view of investing, because you'll have a heart attack if you end up looking every single day at what goes on, the highs that you get with when it goes up, or the lows that you get when something happens, because as sure as in life, events are going to come and they're going to knock you off your perch. And then major events, like on the far right at the top, you'll see coronavirus. So that's what happened in 2019, 2020. And you'll see that it took a big dip. But do you know what? Within a year, that had surpassed and gone over and above where it was pre-COVID. So the main thing is to stay steadfast with any investment and to just have faith in the people that are paid to kind of manage it for you, people like myself, and just to hang tight and to have some good advice and to just keep it going. So yeah, I like to just touch on that to give you a bit of an idea. And those blue little kind of dots are all the major events that have happened, like crises during 1987 to 2020. Next slide, please, Katie. Debt. Let's touch upon this, please. Maybe everything I've talked about tonight is all kind of next level for some people that are on the call, and you're just trying to kind of keep your head above water. Please don't panic if you have debt. There are people out there who can help you and help get those debts consolidated for you. Just reach out and speak to someone, and don't be ashamed to do it. I'm here to help. And it is completely confidential. So please just reach out. And there's some different kind of resources that you're able to see on here. Katie, they're going to have access to this, aren't they? Later, the slides where they can look at it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course we can. We can link all of these resources. And obviously this isn't an exhaustive list. This is just the start of some signposting. And as Ruth has kindly said as well, and we were chatting about this pre-call, she's more than happy to chat to people individually and help to signpost you if you're sat there and you are one of the people that, and you're definitely not alone, has done the financial questionnaire, or maybe it even feels a little bit too scary to even look at that, and you just say, look, I've realized things aren't quite where they want me to be, it's worrying me at the moment. I mean, certainly reach out, speak to somebody about it, because there's absolutely a way through it, and there are things that you can do. There are fantastic resources listed on the slide here, which we'll get the full links out as well. And obviously we've got a few debt specific charities on there that have got brilliant resources. We've got Vet Life, who have financial support for veterinary surgeons, and on their website there is some signposting as well to some of the funds that, for example, BVNA have for the nurses too. And again, Citizens Advice, all of the things that we've got on here, and even speaking to Ruth is confidential as well. It's treated with the utmost care and respect. I know that much. So if there is anything that you do want to chat through further, if you are sat there thinking, oh my goodness, this all still feels quite overwhelming, or how have I got into this position, please know there's a way through it. And it's not a personal fault. I know it can feel scary, but there are people that want to help you out there, aren't there, Ruth?
100%. I'm one of them, and like I've said, it's just reaching out and just getting a little bit of right advice and putting on the right track. Like, I've had people in debt going, I don't understand why I think I keep paying this and it's not going down. And when I look into it for them, I can help explain it. And they have like an aha moment where they're like, right, okay, I get it. So what I need to do is potentially look at redirecting some of this here to get that one paid off because it's got a really high interest rate. And to do this, it's just, unfortunately, they can make it really easy for you to get into debt nowadays. And it's a trap that a lot of people fall into. So it's just about making sure if you have 0% credit cards when they're up, and that if you do load cards, that you do have a savings plan of some sort in place to pay it off, and that you continue to put that in place rather than keep loading it and loading it. But don't forget, we are here if you do want a confidential chat, and we can help.
Thank you so much, Ruth. And we've popped in the chat as well that link if you do want to speak to Ruth for that 30-minute call. There's a little bit more information on that link about things that you can do to prepare and what to expect on the call as well. And if you are watching this on the recording, we'll make sure that all that information is in there for you as well. I will just get us onto the next slide as well, which is back to the questions again, because I'm pretty sure we've covered most of these.
Yeah, we have. I just, and I think we should finish off by just answering the questions. So, who can help me, which is near the bottom, and where do I start? So, you've got to say you're helping yourself right now by listening to this. So well done. Start looking into what rates your bank is giving you, and answer some of the questions I've asked in this. Fill in that financial questionnaire if you haven't already. And if you want to chat your circumstances through, maybe you might be in more of a complex situation, or maybe you just want to kind of run through some of the things I brought up in this, in this tonight. I'm more than happy to help and have a confidential chat. And the team will tell you that I'm very friendly and there's no such thing as a silly question.
100% back that up time and time again. We get lovely feedback from calls that have been with Ruth and from people that have perhaps felt a bit overwhelmed with it all and then come off the call and say, you know what, thank you so much, Ruth. You've talked to me like a human being. You've made it all really understandable. You've not tried to bamboozle me with financial logic, as it were, and all big words. So
yeah. And we have a little thing, don't we, where if I do use jargon, you've got to call us out on it, and I have to put £5 into like a charity pot. So, call us out if we do it. We welcome it, because sometimes we can forget, and you just have to have that reminder to go, right, okay, yeah, kind of smack yourself on the wrist and go, right, yeah. So call us out. It's part of the fun. Talking about financial matters shouldn't be taboo. I want to break that mold. Like Matt said, I want to tell people it's okay to talk about money. Now, don't go screaming down the street how much you earn. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying have an open conversation with, me. Talk about stuff. Someone you trust or your best mate. Just have an open chat.
And we've had some lovely comments in the chat saying, I've had a chat with Ruth. It was excellent. You're very motivating and helpful, which is lovely. You. And saying they're just filling in the questionnaire now whilst listening as well. So well done. Like Ruth said, you're taking action on this, because we can, and I did this for years, put my head in the sand about this stuff and thought that it would all sort itself out. And actually it just starts with one step at a time. And sometimes having someone on board to help us with that can be massively helpful. So I know you've got on here, Ruth, you got to, who can help me and where do I start? We've covered debts. Should we flip on to see if we've got any more questions that people would like to answer? Because we've got about 10 minutes left.
Yeah, if anyone wants to kind of ask anything, oh, brilliant. I love it. I love it. That is the spitting image of my cat, by the way. But that's brilliant. Sorry, I laugh at my own jokes. Excuse me. Well, Katie's joke, she added that on. But yeah, please just ask us anything that you're concerned about, or send it in a private message. It might have not even, it might be been relating to the previous two kind of webinars that we've done, session 1, session 2. Is there something that you would like me to talk more on, just a broad area? Then I wanted to allow time at the end just for you to be able to do that.
And
Ruth, can I ask a question?
Yes, go for it.
As we're at the beginning of a tax year, is there anything particularly that we should be thinking about this month?
So yeah, this month, it's like, what do you want to achieve? Because you pretty much start of a new financial tax year. So do you want to save into that, into a lifetime ISA for a new property, for setting up a new property? Do you want to try and put a savings plan in place to have a stocks and shares ISA, because you've got your 20,000 limit per year that you can start to do? Think of it as a new beginning. What do you want to achieve? Things like that. Like, let me throw it back to you. What do you think about at the start of a new tax year, Matt?
So I guess listening to you tonight reminded me that I haven't taken up my ISA allowance for this year yet. And while I often leave it right until the end of March before taking up my ISA allowance, actually I'm missing out on 11 and a half months of growth if I do that. So while I might have saved my allowance by putting it in at the very last minute, if I can afford to put it in at the beginning of the year, I think this year hopefully I can. So I'm going to make the most of my at least my cash ISA allowance this month.
It can make a huge difference. We come back to that compound interest. So that was obviously over a large amount of time, but you still get that going on with any investment that you put in place. So it is important to think about that. I mean, some people don't want to do large amounts. They want to do kind of more regular payments. Well, I think, for the £4,000, people go, I want to save for that first property. And I go, okay, well, if you want to save the maximum of £4,000 in a tax year for a lifetime ISA, then it's £333.33. And that's how much you need to put in every single month to maximize it. So you think, can I afford to do that? Well, your financial questionnaire will be able to tell you. And we can look into that. But yeah, individual savings accounts are wonderful.
I think I've also noticed, I mean, for the last few years when the interest rate has been so low, it's been almost disappointing reading when I checked my statement and didn't see a huge amount of interest. And I know that the cost of living has gone up recently, but if you're lucky enough to have a little bit to save as well, the interest rates are starting to creep up a little bit now. And it does at least make for a slightly more pleasant reading when you get your statement through.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, you've got to think, one thing that I hope people do is, if you have an ISA, just check what kind of ISA it is. Is it a cash ISA or is it a stocks and shares ISA? Because don't automatically think because it hasn't the term ISA on it that it's going to be earning you a lot. And I would question, at 6.1% of inflation is incredibly high, and it isn't set to go up as well. Can you afford to kind of not look to make your savings go further if you're in a fortunate enough position to have that? So yeah, and if you don't have to invest it all, some people go, do you know, I've got this much. I'm okay. Well, let's start off with a very, very small amount just to get you into, learning more about what it is you have, and how investing works. It can be mind-blowing, but you just need someone who's going to talk you through it.
I think that's such a powerful question, Ruth, to just ask, like, what's it costing me not to look at this stuff? Because like Matt had said, that's 11 and a half months of interest that could have been gained. And just off the back of Matt's question, actually, signpost if we do have any locums that are on here as well. We've got an event on Monday specifically for you called Setting Yourself Up for the New Tax Year as a locum with a fantastic accountancy company as well. So if you do want to dive more into like your limited company side of things and actually setting yourself up for this time of year, which let's be empowered by it and use it as a planning time, then we'll get that link in the chat box as well as we go. And I can see we've had one question that's just come direct to me here, Ruth, that is asking about setting up that emergency fund, and the same. I've always found finances quite overwhelming. I love the idea of having an emergency fund. If I'm totally honest, I don't have one at the moment, which is okay. The idea of trying to save up 3 months of wages or expenses is quite overwhelming as well. Are there any top tips on how to get started with that?
100%. Can you afford to put £1 in every single paycheck or every time you get paid? You can't eat an elephant whole. Like I said, finances are very, very kind of individual to your circumstances. So just put a small amount in. You will feel better for knowing that you've got that address, that you're able to put something towards it. So even at having £1 in, it'll be £1 more than what you had, you know, the day before or the month before. And you'll be setting something up that hopefully you won't ever need. The whole point of an emergency fund is making sure that in case something happens, because, you know, you can't do much after the horse has bolted. So it's kind of making sure it's there for when you need it in case it happens. So like, yeah, it depends, because if you rent, for instance, I wouldn't say have 3 times your salary. I would have less, because you're not having to look at other kind of costs that come with owning your own property. So just look and be realistic with yourself and be honest. Say how much out of that kind of spare disposable income I have, so how much you have left at the end of every month, can you look to put in. And the benefit of an emergency fund is, so you've got me going now, is that you have it in a current account. So if you do need it and you put £50 in at the end, to save, and you go, oh, I do need like £10 to put towards this that I forgot about, you can take it back out again and use it for that. And then you know that you have to save £40 per month, and that is what is affordable. So it's just playing around with it and then slowly building it up, because trust me, months go by very quickly. I don't know how I turned the age that I did so quickly. It's like it goes like that. So you will soon start to build it up with before you know it.
I love that. Thank you so much, Ruth. And I think it's like you say, building those financial habits and just actually making them small and doable, and quite quickly, once you become a person that saves, then actually I'm sure you can start increasing the amount. And we've had another question that's come through to me as well, saying, I found this really helpful. Thank you so much, Ruth. Going through all of this, there seems like there is a lot to take in. I can see that we've got pensions, savings, investments, emergency funds. If I was to start with just one of these, which I'm sure I might know the answer to this that you're going to say, Ruth, which one would you start with?
100% is setting up some form of emergency fund. And apologies, you know, I've tried to keep it very top level, but there is so much that people might hear and want to cover. It can be a bit kind of mind-blowing. But you guys have set up such an incredible platform where people can go back and re-listen to what we've talked about, and to go over it, to go, oh, she mentioned something about LISA, what the heck was that? You know, it was something about property, or so you can go back over it. We're not expecting you to come off this and be financial professionals. It's just to, if you take in 1% of what I've said tonight, I'd be happy. But you can always pick up the phone to me and just ask me again and say, oh, you know, you said this. I promise it's fine. I'll happily give my time to you just to chat through and see if I can add some little tokens. So start with an emergency fund, protect yourself. Second, look at like a protection policy. If affordability, like I've said, let me look into that. If you know, so you're not using too many spoons up in your day, so that we can chase the providers for you. And then if that doesn't work, like I've said, there's 25 other letters of the alphabet we can go at, and I'm a determined person. so we can look into that for you. So that would be my starting point, and be proud of yourself for being on this call and for starting it.
Fantastic answer. Thank you so much, Ruth. We always appreciate your time and your expertise and your insights and support that you give so many members of the community. I can see a few of you have started booking calls in already as well. And it looks like we've come to the end of the questions that we've got. I can see we are on time as well. So we want to be respectful of everyone's time this evening as well. After all, that's the most valuable thing that we've got. So I'm going to run through a couple of calls to action from the VetU side of things, because hopefully you found this session helpful. We would love to know what your key take home has been. If you would kindly share it in the chat for us, or if you want to share it and tag us on social media, please do let us know, because we want to make these sessions as informative, as helpful, as actionable as we can do, and having fantastic financial professionals like Ruth makes that possible for us as well. As we've said throughout the call, just like with our own patients, everyone is an individual. And as much as we can give you top line advice on things and education and generalizations, it's so much easier if Ruth has your individual circumstances. She can talk through with you as an individual, know the ins and outs of what's going on, and help guide you, signpost you, and talk to you. And we always get asked, are these sessions, what are they charged at? And very kindly, these are complimentary sessions for Ruth to start and have that first call, to start taking you on that journey. If you're ready to start taking control of your finances and actually want to go on that path with someone that can help provide that advice, provide that tailoring, and make sure that those policies, whether that's investments, whether that's protection policies, whether that's pensions, are suited to you, and that you've got somebody there with you the whole time that actually is a financial professional and knows the ins and outs, so we don't have to spend any more of our time learning those things as well. We've put that link in the chat as well. You can book in with her. There's a few questions to answer as well there too. And financial advice isn't just for people that have got millions to invest. It should be for everyone. And like Matt said right at the beginning, that's one of the reasons why VetU formed, because Matt did get good financial advice right in the beginning, and that did set him up for success on his career in the veterinary profession. So that's why we want to make it really accessible to you all as well here. If there's something else we can help you with, maybe there's another topic, a complete different branch of finances you're not sure on, you want to see us run a webinar on something that we have not touched on yet, then please do drop us an email and we can do that. We always welcome your feedback, your suggestions, so get in touch. We've got a whole menu of free events that are on everything from negotiation to mortgages to pensions to finances for veterinary nurses and we've got some budgeting sessions that are coming up soon. We're covering everything, so please do check that out. Make sure you check us out on social media as well. Help us spread the word. We know that there are so many veterinary professionals that are out there that really still do feel quite overwhelmed, quite scared, quite worried by these topics. We know that finances have a massive impact on well-being in so many different ways, and we want to try and make it accessible to you to get in touch with professionals like Ruth that really do know this profession. We've done the due diligence, we've had the conversations, we've brought these sessions to try and break these down. Like Ruth said, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Let's try and make this the first bite, just being on this session. So if there is anything that you think will be used to your colleagues, to your teammates, to anyone that works with you in this profession, please do tell them about it. Tell them about what we do. We'd like to say a huge, huge thank you. First of all, to everyone that's been on this call. Well done you. You've taken action. You've taken the first step. You've come on board. You've learned a bit more. Just ask yourself, what is going to be the one piece of action I'm going to take as a result of this? Is it going to be that you're going to get in touch with Ruth? Are you going to go back and check out the interest rates on your sessions? I've also just got in the chat here as well. I know that Liv will share the Spoonies page as well on Facebook that she'll get in the chat too. And that brings me on nicely to, we'd like to thank BVCIS, the British Veterinary Chronic Illness Support charity, and Liv from there for collaborating with us on these sessions. They've been a joy to work with on here, and we've really, really loved seeing what they're doing. So thank you so much for working with us on this. A massive, massive thank you to Ruth for her expertise. I know we keep saying it, but we really do appreciate working with you and how understandable, how doable, and how motivating you make these topics as well. So please do take advantage of Ruth's kind offer if you want to take the next step on your financial journey. And as we've talked about already, we do have some fantastic events that are coming up. On Monday, we've got preparing for the new tax year as a locum. And we've also got Tuesday, how to ace salary negotiation with one of the other VetU founders, Paul Horwood. That is really fantastic in this topic. We've done short videos on this, and we've had so many messages come back saying, I have managed to up my salary by this much. I've managed to negotiate an extra half day off. I've managed to get another policy in place. I've managed to get on board extra bits that maybe I didn't think were possible because I've used these negotiation strategies. So please do come along and join us for those ones. They're completely free. I'm going to hand over to Matt and then Liv, if Liv is still around. She may well have had to jump off, I think. So I'm going to hand over to Matt to wrap up as I just add some links in the chat box for everybody.
Well, listen, I just wanted to say thank you again to our speaker this evening, Ruth, for such insight. I think the one thing that the take-home message for me has been, as we said at the start, we're all individuals, and when it comes to our finances, having a third party, an independent financial advisor to help us make those decisions, the right decisions for us, is really, really important, because our personal circumstances will each dictate what security we need, where we should be investing, and as Ruth said, our attitude to risk and so forth. So please do take the opportunity for that no obligation contact with Ruth. I know you certainly won't regret it. I first spoke to a financial advisor literally just before finishing vet school when I was 23, some 25 years ago now, and the decisions I made then, I still stick with absolutely today. I've got exactly the same pension that I took out at that time, and I certainly don't regret any of those decisions, making them early in life. So be brave, step out and make those decisions. Finally, just to thank you to Katie for hosting this session and being passionate enough to bring us all together so that we can share on some wisdom this evening. So thank you, Katie.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you again to everybody for being here, and thanks to Matt too for jumping on here. I know you're a busy guy, Matt, but certainly it's fantastic to always have the support of everyone in the VetU team, because I know that we all are very much aligned on the fact that this is a really important topic for everyone in the profession. And whilst you'll find that our sessions and our webinars will quite often be niched to one area, we really want to make sure that we serve everyone. So if you do have suggestions or any topics you'd like us to see covered, then please do get in touch. And again, if you've got questions, get in touch with us at hello@vetu.co.uk. We'll be here for you. So thank you, everybody.
Pleasure. Thank you.